The Elder Scrolls Online is somewhat of a sleeper hit. It's a game that gets little buzz online, but in fact it's got a huge number of players across its 3 platforms. The game had a rocky launch which severely damaged its reputation, but it's since come a long way. Summerset follows a similar mould to last year's Morrowind expansion, a meatier piece of content when compared to the usual quarterly DLCs for the game. Whilst Morrowind offered a brand new nostalgic filled zone along with a completely new class in the Warden, Summerset instead provides a beautiful new area to explore with the Psijic skill line and jewellery crafting. The island of Summerset itself is one of the most delightful zones in the Elder Scrolls Online. The 4K and HDR enhancements to the game for the Xbox One X seem tailor-made for the region. Sun shafts beam through the trees, the varied colours of flora pop, and the elven-inspired architecture looks fantastic. At every turn, Summerset feels lush and vibrant. It's a genuinely pleasant area to explore. Thankfully, in the latest update, ZeniMax Studios has added a screenshot mode to the console versions of ESO, removing the game's UI. It's safe to say that this mode got a lot of use during my time with the expansion. Summerset continues to excel in an area where many MMOs falter: the story. Whilst it's still possible to skip through all of the game's dialogue if you're so inclined, I genuinely recommend just slowing down a little bit and listening to what the game's characters have to say. There's some really fantastic voice acting and writing in Summerset throughout.
You think as Canon Reeve I'd be immune to the troublesome temper of a spoiled and rebellious child?
I found the main story and side quests to be far more interesting than the base game. Whilst during the base ESO world I've often skipped plenty of dialogue, throughout Summerset I took my time hearing what the NPCs had to say, exploring dialogue trees and learning more about the world and the events occurring around me. Unfortunately though, the actual actions of these quests remain fairly familiar. Go here, collect or use an item and then return to the quest giver. It's an issue that I've found throughout my tens, possibly even hundreds of hours spent in ESO, and Summerset disappointingly doesn't fix it. I'd love to see the ESO expansions offer more in terms of the actual mechanical gameplay additions. Gameplay side of the quests still remain fairly bland. It's a stark contrast to the aesthetic quality of the region. The stories and individual tales and charming characters are what managed to pick up the slack though, adding a much needed injection of life into the quests. Fan favourites such as Razandar take a prominent role in the game's story, and it's thankfully a lot better for it. Whilst the main story follows a grander tale, the smaller side quests offer a contrasting, more personal approach. Both are compelling, just in different ways. It'd be great to see ESO also move towards providing further weight to your decisions. The team seem to have added more decisions in their quest lines over time. These conversational decisions are obviously meant to mirror those found in the main Elder Scrolls single-player experiences, but unfortunately they continue to fall completely flat.
But at least I'm free to make that choice.
Whether a character lives or dies doesn't really matter when the quest is a completely segregated experience. The game might ask you to make a choice about the fate of a character, but the decision ends up having no further impact anywhere else. It feels like a real missed opportunity, especially given the quality of the writing and the stories being told. The Psijic Order play a pivotal role in the story of Summerset. They're an ancient group of mages based on the hidden isle of Artaeum. Alongside the Psijic Order comes a brand new interesting skill line, the main unique gameplay addition in this expansion. The skill line features some fun abilities such as a giant time bubble which stops enemies in their place, along with an awesome ultimate titled Undo. Think Overwatch's Tracer, but in Elder Scrolls Online. The ability steps you back in time, resetting your health, magicka, stamina and position to where they were 4 seconds ago. As you can imagine, there's some pretty entertaining ways to use this ability. Go charging off a cliff and then teleport back up to land. Screwed up a dodge taking too much damage from a tough boss? No problem. It's clear that the devs have had some fun here. The skill effects look great and they offer a unique and downright fun addition to the library of skills found in the game. Sounds great, right? Whilst the Psijic Order skill line itself is definitely a blast, the way players must go about earning it is one of the most criminally dull quest lines in the entire game. Players are tasked with following various maps to close rifts throughout Tamriel. Check the map, find the spot, head there, close the rift. What initially seems like a dull approach quickly becomes mind-numbing once you complete the first set, only to be presented with another set of points to find and another. ZeniMax should truly be ashamed of placing some legitimately brilliant new gameplay additions behind one of the worst series of quests in the entire game. Considering the Psijic skill line is probably the only real major gameplay mechanic addition in the expansion, placing it behind hours of sleep-inducing objectives is just a downright shame. It feels lackadaisical. I know you can do better than this, guys. Thankfully though, the hidden Isle of Artaeum is one of the most stunning areas in the game. Whilst it is tiny, it's a real pleasure to visit whenever given the chance. The north side of the island has a large tower where you'll chat to the NPCs and receive quests. Stepping through the portals and moving between the rooms in the tower gives kind of a unique feel to the area. Artaeum highlights the secluded hidden nature of the Sigil Order perfectly. Jewellery crafting is a brand new profession in Summerset, allowing players to finally modify, improve and craft their rings and amulets. Whilst it's nice to see a new crafting element added to the game, jewellery crafting is unfortunately a little bit of a grind in its current state. It takes longer to progress than most of the other professions in the game. Overall though, Summerset is a great expansion to ESO, purely based on the content and price alone. Whilst it'd be nice to see ZeniMax create some more unique and exciting expansions to ESO, the content here is a lot of fun, particularly for fans of the game. There's no major gameplay changes here. ESO expansions are currently notably less grand affair than something like a World of Warcraft expansion. There's not really any new significant mechanics introduced, no unique additional gameplay loops to keep players hooked, or substantial changes here. Instead though, Summerset is similar to Morrowind in its scale. It's a hefty chunk of content for existing fans of the game to enjoy. The content here is definitely an improvement from the base game. The zone is beautiful, the stories are interesting, and there's plenty of fun to be had. Priced at £20 as an upgrade for existing owners, it's hard to feel shortchanged with what's on offer here. ESO deserves a lot more attention from gamers who might have dismissed the title based on its initial launch. The game has come a long way since then, with regular improvements, updates and additional pieces of content. While Summerset doesn't do a whole lot to appeal to newcomers, it does provide hours of enjoyment with some of the best of what the game has to offer.